right?
Yeah, it's not good. I joined his little one time.
All right, we're on.
Welcome everyone to the Orange Township Board of Trustees meeting. Today is January 18th, 2022. I'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Kraft, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Grumbles.
Here.
Ms. Knapp. Here.
All right. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to move to executive session right off the bat tonight. I'm going to combine, there's another executive session at the end of the meeting. I'm going to move that up and combine both topics. In the first executive session, I don't think that the second topic is going to be too time consuming, so it makes sense to just go back once. With that, make a motion to approve resolution 22-37 to enter into executive session to consider the employment or compensation of a public employee or official and to discuss pending and imminent legal matters.
Second. Mr. Grumbles.
Yes.
Ms. Knapp.
Yes.
Right.
And those invited to attend?
Invite Township Council Pete Griggs, Trustee Lisa Knapp, Fiscal Officer Lisa Kraft, Administrator Michelle Bonney, and myself. Tell me when you're ready.
We're ready.
All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-038, return to regular session.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
In executive session, we discussed candidates for appointment to the trustee position. We also discussed imminent legal matters affecting the township. All right, with that, it brings us to our next item, which is to bear with me. Appoint a trustee pursuant to revised code 503.24. I believe, Michelle, I'll have to read the really, really long resolution. Is that correct?
Yes, I would.
I didn't hear you, Michelle.
Oh, yes, I would. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bear with me. It's a long one. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-039, appointment to office of Township Trustee pursuant to revised code 503.24. Whereas pursuant to resolution number 22-003, the Board of Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, declared and deemed the office of Orange Township Trustee with a term commencing January 1st, 2020 and expiring December 31st, 2023 to be vacant as of December 31st, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Such vacancy being a result of the resignation of Ben Grumbles from such seat, and whereas pursuant to revised code 503.24, the board now desires to make an appointment to fill the vacancy. Excuse me, one moment. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The board, pursuant to revised code 503.24, hereby appoints Erica Faust to the office of trustee for Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio. Such appointment is for the unexpired term ending December 31st, 2023. This appointment fills the vacancy left by the resignation of Ben Grumbles from the seat, with a term commencing January 1st, 2020 and expiring December 31st, 2023. Pursuant to revised code 3.02b, the fiscal officer on behalf of the board shall immediately, but no later than 7 days after making the appointment, certify this appointment to the Delaware County Board of Elections and Ohio Secretary of State. Immediately after the appointment, the fiscal officer, pursuant to revised code 503.25, shall also prepare a notice informing Erica Faust of the appointment. The notice shall include the name of the office to which Erica Faust was appointed. Fiscal officer shall add to the notice a requisition that Erica Faust appear before the fiscal officer or some other officer authorized to administer oaths, give bond, and take the oath of office. The fiscal officer shall immediately make service of a copy of the notice and requisition by delivering it to Erica Faust. The notice and requisition with the time and manner of service on it shall be returned and filed in the office of the fiscal officer. Before entering upon the discharge of official duties of Township Trustee, Erica Faust shall, pursuant to revised code 3.22 and 3.23 and section 7 of Article 15, Ohio Constitution, take the oath of office and pursuant to revised code 505.02, give bond. Pursuant to revised code 503.26, the officer before whom the oath is taken shall immediately deposit with the fiscal officer a certificate of the oath. The fiscal officer shall make a record of all official oaths. Pursuant to revised code 505.02, Erica Faust shall give bond to the state for the use of the township in the sum of $1,000, conditioned for the faithful performance of her official duties as trustee, with at least 2 sureties, each of whom shall be a resident of Orange Township or a corporate surety authorized to do business in this state. The bond shall be approved by a judge of the Delaware Municipal Court. Per revised code 505.03, the bond shall be deposited with the fiscal officer and recorded by the fiscal officer. After taking the oath and giving bond, all books, records, documents, laws, obligations, papers, blanks, and all other articles and property belonging to the office of trustee shall, consistent with revised code 503.28, be delivered to Erica Faust. All former actions of this board concerning and relating to the passage of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of the board, and all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including revised code 121.22. This resolution shall be in full force and effect immediately upon adoption.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes. And I would just like to say that we had, what do we have, like 12 candidates maybe, or 10? And I think most of them were really good candidates, and it was a difficult decision to make. But I think we made the right decision. I would just like to welcome Erica to the board.
All right. We'll now open the meeting to public comment, if there are any. Okay. And we welcome the Delaware Public Health District to provide us an update.
Good evening.
Evening.
It's good to see you all again. It's been a little while. I'm Sheila Hiddleston, your health commissioner. It's just kind of stopping by to let you all know what's going on. Of course, you all have Jen, and she's here regularly to talk about what's going on. And so a couple of things just to let you all know. Of course, not surprised, we're still in the midst of COVID with very, very high numbers. But our health district made the decision a few months ago to try to get most of our staff back to doing their regular, hired some temporary people to help. Unfortunately, Jen's division is probably the one most hit by all of this to get other people. So several of her staff have had, but most of our environmental health team is back now. So a lot of times with the township, if there is something more, it's related mostly to the environment. So if there's anything that you need, please don't hesitate to reach out. You may all know Steve Burke. Steve Burke is our environmental health director for, and he retired in December. So Dustin Kent is our new deputy health commissioner for environmental health. And so if there's something that you need, you can reach out to me or to Jen or to Dustin, and we'll make sure that we get someone there to help you with those things. The only other thing I'm really going to tell you about is that the District Advisory Council meeting was set for March the 24th last year. I believe, Mr. Grumbles, you will be the representative as the township president. If you all decide it's not going to be you, it just has to be in your minutes who you're appointing to that. So it'll be the 24th. If you did make a decision, it's going to be at the Willis Education Center, not to be confused with the Board of Education or Board of Elections, because that way we can spread out and have a little bit of room. And then for a lot of our new staff who don't really know what a district advisory council is, I prepared for them just a little summary of what the district advisory council is, how it works, what its purpose is. So I brought a copy of that for you as well. Then I'd be happy to talk about anything that you all have going on in the township that we can.
No, I don't have any questions. I appreciate the partnership. In our first meeting, we did appoint Trustee Knapp to handle all the relationship and communication. So she'll be attending the meeting on the board's behalf. And other than that, yeah, I think we had a COVID spike in the township here and sent everybody home for a week to work remotely in response to that. And it seemed to have done the trick with giving people time to recover and then also making sure that, you know, we minimize contact accordingly. And at the same time, I think most of the families had their own, but it seemed like it hit the township all at the same way. My home was impacted. You know, I know several others were as well. So it's one of those things where, you know, you deal with it when it comes and try to take the right precautions. I know that most of the folks in the township are, you know, responsible and doing things to help mitigate on their end and respectful of those that, you know, have issues or requests. And we just try to continue to work together, and it's gone well.
Really appreciate that. We do still have the highest vaccination rate in the state. We're sitting right now at 75% of the population that are eligible, so the have begun their vaccination, and 79% have begun and 75 are finished. And that's even in our younger kids, and our 5 to 11, which are the newest group. It's pretty good. You know, of course, that's a personal decision, and that should be a conversation with their physician about whether that's something you should do. Similar to what I try to tell people about their masks. You need to think about yourself, your circle, and your family, and who you're trying to protect and do the best you can. We are, just so you all know, the Association of Ohio Commissioners, we meet with the governor every month. We've been talking a lot with him. In fact, this morning when we talked, that it is really time that we start looking at the pandemic and perhaps changing it from being a Class A reportable to being more like what we do. Our staff are spending hours and hours and hours. I sent out 2,000 and something letters last week, especially with the shortened period for the actual isolation at home that the CDC has changed to. By the time we get the notice and get the letter, the 5 days is just about done. And we've gotten some of those actually very nice emails from people. Just want to let you know, and I always say, no one more than me wants to not have to do that. But right now, that's our legal requirement, so we need to do that. But I do think that our community as a whole understand what the threat to themselves is and is making decisions based to themselves and their families. So hopefully we are seeing a downtrend. I can tell you that in Ohio, the highest peak with the Omicron did start up in the Cleveland area, and Terry Allen, who's the health minister, said they were starting to see a decrease. So that's good. As of this morning, we had 26 ICU beds open out of 698 in our region, down as low as 5 few weeks. So maybe that's a good sign that maybe. And our school districts, you all have old Tangi and Mark Rafe and his team, they've just been excellent to work. But they are completely as well. We need to be able to move on to others. So we have to still be responsive, but our community.
Yeah, they've done well, I think, too, to figure out how to respond. I mean, we had a pickup with supplies and Chromebooks, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, working from home, and they were very responsive, and you know, they're dealing with it the best they can, like everybody.
I think the biggest challenge right now with that is the tests, and as you've seen, they're all behind and going. But I will tell you, we have been working with the state trying to get more tests in for Delaware County, and they did make a decision last week that all of the tests that are coming now are going to be sent to schools first. So our public safety partners, we can't get any tests for us, so we're trying to work on that. I am due 5,000 tests that were committed to us before they made the decision to send them to the schools, but I still don't know if I'm getting them. But if I do get them, we'll be sharing them with our public.
But what is the purpose of the testing? If this is in fact becoming endemic, the reason you're testing is so you can do contact tracing and inform other people, right?
Well, so the purpose of the testing, of course, is to know if you have it, so you would stay home.
But shouldn't you just stay home when you're sick anyway?
Yes, absolutely.
Like most people do?
I mean,
Okay.
we have a very short 3-point infographic that we put out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The first one is, if you know you have COVID, stay home for 5 days. If you're sick and you don't know what it is, you need to stay home until you're fever-free for 24 hours and your symptoms are resolving. And everyone else, we should just assume we've probably been exposed and just be careful unless we become symptomatic and then refer to number 1. So
Exactly. It's common sense, I think, a lot of it. And especially since it's so widespread throughout Ohio, there's very little you can do. So is the district currently recommending masks for this children at school? Because that's been a big deal with a lot of my constituents over the last,
So we are still recommending masks because at this point we have such high community spread. Just like what I just said, I think that any of us who don't think we've been exposed are probably not living in the world at this point. So we are recommending that for those that can't wear them. Superintendent Rafe and I have been talking about that. Just now. Trying to make those decisions. I know one of the things that he's looking at is that vaccination rate, particularly for kids where they're still masks. So we are still recommending those.
But even if you're vaccinated, you can still spread it, correct?
You can, absolutely. That's why there's no distinction right now whether you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated and boosted, and I'm going to be within a few, more, if I'm going to be within that 6 feet of them. But like I tell people, I have a grandbaby who had cancer last year. I wear my mask for her. So I don't want to take any. And I think that's the question everyone has.
Unique for all of us.
Pardon me?
It's unique for all of us.
Right, it is.
My
It's very
daughter
unique.
had it, and there was a sore throat for a day or two, whereas I last year lost a close friend. because in a matter of days, right? Because it's just so unique, it seems, to everybody. So it's about what you're willing to do and what you want to do and comfortable with doing. And I think you're
Well, and
right.
what you can do, having
Yeah.
that conversation with your physician about what is the best thing for our family. I always talk about the circles. Myself, my husband that I live with, my children and grandchildren, those are my immediate circle. And what can I do to help protect them? Because my little ones, they're
But I am
three
really
and 1, they can't be vaccinated.
correct. Yeah, but I am really proud to hear that there's discussion about this not being treated as a short-lived type thing and moving more towards treating it like what it sounds like it's going to be, where it's going to continue to evolve and morph and change and be a topic of discussion like the flu. Because I think at that point we start moving towards a longer term response and sustained response that maybe just like when there's a flu outbreak that's more severe, right? People ramp up the precautions, and this is no different.
But when will the mask become optional for parents to decide for their own child? Because there are no masks at Olentangy high schools, and there's been no breakouts at all. I mean, is that the concern that if their masks are not mandated at Olentangy schools, the high schools, or Southwestern?
So we don't have the authority to mandate them unless we have a specific outbreak, and we have mandated masks in certain classrooms because of outbreaks.
So it's a school district's decision, but you're still recommending them.
We are still
correct?
recommending them because the cases in the county. So.
Well, I did a chart that I'll give you later, but I actually did a chart of about 20 different districts here, and the whether or not some of them require masks, some just for the high school, or some of them require masks for the whole district. Some of them require masks for like K through 6, and there's no rhyme or reason at all. The green is no mask required, red is all masks required, yellow is in between, like Olentangy. There's no rhyme or reason at all as far as like spread, regardless of the number of students or the masking situation. You could have masks required at one district, and there's lots of cases, or masks not required, and there's lots of cases. I cannot even find a pattern. This is all the data from January 14th, the most recent. So it doesn't seem to matter, honestly, if people are wearing masks in schools. There, you can see from this chart, it's all over the place.
Because we have such high community spread.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the reason why. So that, again, that's why I try to tell
I'm
people.
hoping that there will soon become a choice for the younger kids, because, like I said, a lot of it's becoming very difficult after 2 years. So the feedback we're getting. Thank you.
Anything else? Jen, I think, had a couple of things to share.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jen Peggy. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of the little mini grant application that we sent out. I don't know if you got that, Michelle. So we used to have a grant called Creating Healthy Communities, and so it focused on projects such as community gardens, walking paths, benches, fitness equipment at your parks. So we haven't had that grant in some time, but we've set aside some money at Health District to be able to continue those activities. So we just launched that. The application's due in February. I would say if you're thinking about something, I mean, since this is the first time we're doing it, we only have $10,000 to spend. If you have something that's like a couple $1,000s, we want to try and fund as many projects as we can, even if this helps towards the cost of something else that you're doing. So if you have any questions on that, you can always reach out to me. I can help you out. And then I think I've already seen that you guys have been promoting the Winter 100 through Preservation Parks. And then I just had a little flyer. I'm not sure if you know, January's Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So we have a coalition in the county that puts out a little calendar of things you can do every day. Just wanted to share that with you. Question.
Do you know when the deadline is for that grant?
It is the 15th, and actually I'll give you this.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have any questions, just
The mulch. for the community garden.
I
Year 2.
was thinking.
Every little bit helps. So.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Right. Move forward with the consent agenda. Do you have any questions on the 2 purchase orders?
Ben, I'm sorry. Can we make a couple agenda changes?
Yeah, go ahead.
We do need to add an additional item on the consent agenda. Chief, if you can elaborate on that.
Yes, we had a couple things from Gauls where we purchased our uniform stuff that for some reason seemed to never got the invoices. I think 4 or 5 of them throughout the year. So they called saying that they have them. So we asked to get copies of them. Actually, Todd asked to get copies of them. They got them today. So we're just doing a purchase order to go ahead and pay those. We had to transfer funds from one blanket, it's 2021 funds. First, you're gonna get that paid off so that we can get stuff closed out.
And how much is it?
It's $11,000.
Flat? 11,000 flat?
Yep.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
Yeah, because we paid, so Michelle, you probably, it was 11,957, but we paid 957 with funds that were in the account already.
Okay.
So we have 11,000 left.
Michelle, did you have anything else?
That's all I had.
I wanted to add under new business, discussion of the use of Township Hall for a special needs group.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-040, approving the electronic record of the proceedings from the regular meeting held on January 5th, 2022, and resolution 22-0401, approving the purchase order, then and now purchase orders and blanket purchase orders as listed.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
All right. Any, looks like we're on development and zoning.
Yes. So from the last trustee meeting, nothing has changed in the zoning report, but just a reminder, we do have a BZA meeting this coming Thursday with 2 variance applications. They're both regarding area variances for decks. And then following that, we do have our first zoning commission meeting on Tuesday, January 25th at 6:30 p.m. Regarding a new application, and that this is a mixed-use development just north of Walmart, and they are proposing apartments with BJ's as their large box commercial and some small retail up in the front. So nothing has changed. We are still finalizing the next BZA meeting, but we have a new one coming in now for a sign over at the new Microcom in Creekside. That's all I have for zoning.
Right. Operations.
Good evening, board. First thing I have for review tonight is a resolution for our contract with True Green for 2022 fertilizing and green space treatments. We've apparently been in contract with them for several years. They do a great job. Minimal price increase for next year, and we'd like to continue utilizing them. Second item on the operations report is the athletic field use policy, which is a lot more lengthy than our previous policies. When I started here, I was asked to review all of this and take a good long hard look at how we've been operating and compare it to other neighboring cities and counties and townships. The result is this new policy, which has been reviewed, distributed obviously a few times, and reviewed a few times with some of our current field users as well as the community. Happy to present this to you tonight for review and discussion. One of the highlights I'll bring out is some of the feedback I've gotten from some of the youth sports groups is it is a significant change from what the township has had in the past. That being said, the previous township policy was a bit outdated, a little bit behind the times for whatever reason. So A lot of the changes will be pretty significant compared to what these groups have been used to in the past. So I think there is some leeway here, potentially for the spring season, to maybe ease the policy into play instead of going 100% full go right away. If the board would like to consider that, it might help some of our current users some time to kind of figure out how it's going to look for them financially and scheduling wise. But happy to answer any questions that you guys have seen as you review the policy.
I'm going to knock out the resolution for the treatments, and I would also say on the True Green, I know we've used them for pesticide on the walking trails, and that's been effective. So I would like to make sure that we are proactive again with that. The trails, when they open up, there's a ton of conversation on every forum and social media about the ticks. They come out in full force and find out that dogs are frequent and they can latch on for a ride. And as soon as we treat them, the complaints go away. So, get in front of that this year if we can, and maybe put a post out to let folks know, hey, we're treating them in the spring so that when you start to utilize those in the warmer months, it's already in place, and maybe a follow up in the summer if we need to, or whatever. But it's been a success, and I do think that I look at that, having talked through that my first year, the price has been pretty stable, so that's good.
Yeah.
Especially with the economy and the supply chain we have now. So, any questions on that, Ms. Knapp? Make a motion to approve Resolution 22-042, authorizing the Director of Operations to enter into an agreement with the True Green for 2022 treatment of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, owned property.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
As far as the field use, I have a few comments. Ms. Knapp, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about there?
Did you want Silas to provide like a general overview of it?
I've looked at it and made some edits with him, and I'm okay with it. You're welcome to ask for whatever you need or would like. The one thing I wanted to comment on though was your proposal to ease into it. And I'm fine with that. The one thing that for me that's most important here is a process whereby we're allocating out the fields, and this accomplishes that, right? I'm less concerned with imposing the price shift or any of that rapidly, or putting anyone using the fields in a position where they're panicked, as much as being I think the feedback we heard in the past was there were concerns over allocation being equitable and so forth. And I think this remedies that. And so, that's what, when we sat down when you arrived, that's what we talked about. You delivered on that. So I appreciate your work. I'm fine with it. If you want to transition into this at, 50% per year starting in the fall, that's fine with me. And the second 50% you could even impose next fall. Whatever, obviously Ms. Knapp thinks is fair as well, and I'm fine with it. But I'm happy to see that we have an objective approach to allocating field space. I think that's the most, important component.
Thank you. And I can add a little context to the notion or the option of potentially easing into this. When the policy was first drafted, I'd taken the time to meet with all the individual sports groups, invited them to a couple little open house meetings and open table meetings just to get their feedback, a little Q&A, a little back and forth. One of the things I found was that two of our current soccer groups tend to schedule, take it back, their registration period is almost a 1-year period. So once you register in July, it counts for your summer, your fall, and the following spring before that session ends. And so their fee schedule is already set for this current spring from last summer, essentially. So just trying to think ahead of a way to try to mitigate the, throwing all the costs and all the new changes on at once. I thought potentially for the spring, that might be a way to maybe impose some fees, but maybe not all of them initially, just to help them get through the springtime. Now, it does not apply to every current user group that we have, but for those groups, that's one of the pieces of feedback that we received.
Well, and
Thank
just to back up that, so this whole situation happened because over the years we had no way to really rent out our fields fairly.
Well, it
There was
appears that
a lot of requests for using it without a good process to figure out who could use it and how much it would cost. So this is the way to kind of streamline everything while giving the residents they get basically their groups get prime pick and the best price for using the fields, which is the way it should be. But
so-
others can still use it, but they'll end up paying more. But
correct.
this is a way to make it all more fair versus people thinking that some groups get preference or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And again, a lot of it was provided with feedback and documentation from other local entities who obviously have probably more fields than we have and more groups trying to use them.
You said you modeled it off of Dublin and
I've looked at Dublin, Hilliard, Westerville, Worthington, several townships locally.
and this is very similar.
Yeah, it's pieces and parts of all of them that kind of made it into what Orange Township what fits us the best.
It's
but I
basically
think-
per person and also per season, and then it varies on whether you're a resident.
Correct.
Is that a good way
Yeah,
to
there's
describe it?
different fees for residents versus non-residents. But to your point, I think you hit it on the head. It does cater more to our residents, which I don't know if we have really done in the past. I mean, our residents that have generously supported the construction and the maintenance of all of our facilities. This provides us opportunities for those more inclusive groups to get more preferential treatment than some of the exclusive groups. I think we'll have space for all of them in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not as much as everybody thinks they want, but we'll be able to equally distribute fields and allocate them across the board. And again, in different tiers and different fee schedules that make it equitable for everybody.
And I would like to get feedback, of course, because I'm assuming there might be some questions from some of the, even though you've met with people, a lot of times people don't actually pay a lot of attention until, it becomes official. So I think we're open to possibly, tweaking it in some way if we need to or something. But it is going to be quite the change. It is pretty complex, really. But hopefully in the end it will be more fair.
I think we're going from minimal structure to proactively telling people, and communicating what the process is, the dates are, that kind of thing. So that there's so much more structure around the approach from the onset. It eliminates the ambiguity and the opportunity to perceive injustice or unfairness or inequity, right?
Correct.
And I think that's the big win here. So again, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for all your work on this. So it's pretty complicated.
As Mr. Grumbles mentioned, I hope it does clarify the process and clean this up a little bit because it was a bit of a mess before. And, sometimes perception to a lot of people is their actual reality. And I hope this will really clear it up a little bit. So
well,
I appreciate
the folks that were vocal or that would complain about it, there's little to, a lot of the complaint was around the lack of structure. And so this is the answer that they asked for, that they wanted a process and an approach. And, as long as it's as equitable and objective as possible, then I see little, outside of the pricing pushback. And I think if folks saw the investments that were being made into these fields just to keep them up from a fertilizing, watering, mowing standpoint, and we talked about that going into your cost structure, and it did. So I think it's very fair, and I'm fine waiting until the fall to make this go live, understanding with your feedback there what the timelines are. I appreciate the clarity. So
I think summer might be kind of
Summer,
that good
right.
wheelhouse.
Yep.
Yeah. One of this, again, based on the feedback I've received, and it's kind of kicking around potential ideas. I think maybe I think I would recommend, or maybe something to throw out there, is maybe implementing the participant fees effective immediately with the policy, and then maybe maintaining our current field reservation price for now for the spring to get through that, then ease everybody into it, and then once summer would hit, to implement the full policy and have it down as it's written.
okay.
Michelle, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, just the only thing, Silas and I both reviewed this. I think he did an excellent job reaching out to the user groups to get everybody's feedback. And this policy overall is designed to serve our residents as the top priority. So I'm happy with the end product.
And it might even increase a little bit of revenue so we could take even better care of the fields
Yes.
possibly. So maybe some seeding in the middle of the season or something.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 22-043, adoption of an athletic field use policy, noting that participant fees will be effective immediately. Field use fees will become effective in the summer.
So we're doing this immediately.
The participant fees would be immediate. So that's to participate or to fill out an application, the participant fees become effective immediately, but the field use, the more, I guess, substantial fees would not be incurred until the summer when those organizations can reset their own fee structure to ensure that they cover their costs.
So what's the definition of immediately? Like March 1st or today?
Tomorrow morning. I have a lot of the field use requests for the spring kind of on hold right now, waiting to see where this was going to go. So they will go effective for the spring season. So it'll be April 1st through the last day of Olentangy schools.
When does summer season start?
I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, April 1st through Memorial Day. And then summer season would be day after Memorial Day through the first day of Olentangy schools would be that summer season. And then fall would obviously be first day of school through October 31st.
So just for the resolution purposes, I think the trustees, and Trustee Grumbles, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're passing the adoption of the field use policy to have the participant fees effective immediately, and then all other fees will be effective beginning summer season.
That's correct.
And summer season starts the day after Memorial Day?
Yeah. I think we should put a date in the resolution.
Ms. Knapp, the reason I had changed, I thought the exact same thing. And the reason I had changed that is so we wouldn't have to change the resolution and the policy every year. So on page 5 of the policy, it details what spring, summer, and fall season dates are so that the first day of school and Memorial Day, obviously it'll move every
I
year.
looked at
So
that.
that would at least cover us going forward until we want to change it permanently again.
So
But for this, so the summer would correspond with the date that's already.
in the
Summer is
resolution.
Memorial
Correct.
Day through the first day of school for Olentangy local schools. This is the summer session. And that request, the deadline for those teams to request or those groups to request is March 1st in the new policy. So they'll have several months in advance to plan ahead.
Did I second that? Yeah, second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
Just let us know if you get feedback.
I
I'm
will
sure you
definitely do so.
All right, thanks.
Chief
Ooh.
Neil, you don't have anything on the agenda. Did you have anything that you wanted? Yeah, I know. Do you have anything you want to share? I know you've got a progress update on the boat, and the status is good, moving right along.
Yes, sir, the boat's coming along, so it actually looks like a boat. Hopefully within the next 2 months or so. I'll actually look. It's coming along.
Good. All right. Fiscal officer.
Okay, just a couple things tonight. The first, we just missed this. It's normally on the organizational meeting, just the reallocations standard resolution. This allows us to move money around that you've already authorized from an appropriation standpoint within the same program level. So like what we're doing for uniforms, we're just moving some of the money's been approved. We're just moving it around a little bit. So that's what that first resolution is for. The next one is revised certificate, accepting the revised certificate of resources, both for 2021 and 2022. We changed our beginning balances for 2022, and there'll be one more change for that once we finalize the year. And then that should be the last change for 2021. Then financial report for the month. I emailed this out to you guys, but just in summary, we don't officially close out the year, or the month, I should say, until we close out the year, which we probably will do in another 2 weeks. We have to make sure, like, for example, the invoices that came in today for Galls, just that there aren't any, things hanging out there for 2021 before we flip the switch, because once we do it, you can't undo it. But we've already started the end of year process as far as the notes and things like that are due for the auditor of state. So expecting probably sometime towards the end of the month to close things out. A few highlights: as of December 31st, our ending cash position was $24,924,865.69. Our investment mix hasn't changed. It's still $8.7 million with Fifth Third and $10 million with Star Ohio. Our fund or department cash balances at the end of the year were in general fund 7.1, in roads 2.7, fire 7.0, and parks at 5.2 million. Expenses through December 31st, we spent 17.5 million, and our revenue was 18. So that's pretty close there. And some of that revenue includes that revenue also includes what we received, the 1.5 million we received last year for ARP funds. Any questions? Okay. That's it for me.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-044 reallocations.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-045, accepting and approving a revised certificate of resources.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
All right. Are there any other topics tonight that need to be covered that we're not?
She had the agenda change.
Oh, yes. New business item.
That?
A new business item, the Township Hall.
Oh, sorry.
The last one. So I had a couple of moms from the school district ask if they could. They are the parents of special needs children, and their prom was canceled this year. So they were asking if they could use this room. I think it's February 11th, and they would pay whatever fees are necessary. But they're having a hard time finding, and they're residents, long time residents, and they're having a hard time finding anywhere with this short notice falling through. So February 11th,
How many people are we talking?
20
So-
20 children, a prom for 20 special needs kids.
So are we do we have a set rate that we would rent this for a night?
Didn't you approve that last meeting?
Well, we haven't changed the fee structure, so
Right.
so it's just as it was before.
Do we know what that is?
You know something.
I do not off the top of my head, and I believe this room was the one we said we weren't going to do the actual rentals for, except for meetings and stuff. We were going to try to push majority of the rentals to North Orange Community Room. So I don't know if that was ever reestablished with the kind of soft reopening of this room for the HOAs.
Yeah, we can choose to rent it to special groups if we choose to, if the board decides.
Yeah, we can. Is the North Orange not sufficient in size?
Yeah, it's not as conducive to like.
Well, the other
special
thing
event
too
like that.
is with the ramp and everything, we would have from a facility standpoint, we'd have multiple restrooms and such that would be accessible.
Yeah, I think each person would be accompanied by an adult, so not be a rowdy group of children. Many would be in wheelchair.
We could always secure the door. Is there any other staff objections?
Just the technology stuff that probably hasn't been figured. Have we figured that out yet?
No, we haven't figured that out, but we can look at pushing that back and just before they rent this, we'll just explain that. So
Just push the cart into the room and monitor.
Yep.
And move tables and whatever. Nothing too substantial.
And they would pay the security deposit. whatever the current-
Yeah, we're gonna look at updating probably our liability waiver eventually, but I don't think we'll have it ready for February 11th, but we'll just keep it as, Trustee Knapp will keep it as how we've done it before with them.
What's the group name?
I don't know if it actually has the name of the group. I don't have the name. Volunteer Special Needs Parents.
If you wanna, Lisa, if you wanna forward that contact with me, I can help coordinate all that with them.
Is there any issue with making a revision to the rental schedule or whatever, the fee schedule? I don't think it's substantial anyway, is it? It's very minimal.
What is it?
We can make an exception on the rate, is that
Yeah, we
right?
could actually legally donate
Okay.
if we so choose.
Just you waive the fee.
Waive the
Okay,
fee, yeah.
well, I'll do a resolution then, just to,
You got a resolution or consensus?
I'll do a resolution.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-046, authorizing the rental of Township Hall on February 11th, Olentangy Special Needs Group for the purpose of holding prom for the rental rate of $1.
That would be, I haven't looked, is that a weekend?
It's a Friday night.
Is it Friday? Okay, so it'd be obviously, okay, second?
Mr. Crumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Right. Any other matters tonight?
I don't have any.
Make a motion to approve resolution 22-047, meeting adjournment.
So would we be waiving the,
No, they'd still need a security deposit, but the
how
rent,
much would that? It's on the fee schedule, right?
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't know the
think
fees off the
it's
top of my
something.
head.
Okay, so but they would get that back.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay,
That's correct.
second.
Mr. Crumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.